Hi, my favorite detective. I've got a new portion of tricky riddles for you to train your sharp mind. Let's start.
Yeah.
One summer night, Emily threw a big party. But in the morning, she discovered that someone had stolen all her jewelry and money.
Oh no!
The police have 3 suspects: Daniel, Emily's boyfriend, Lily, her best friend, and Hannah, the girl's sister. Daniel told the police that he'd been playing computer games with his friend all night long. Lily felt sick and went home in the middle of the night. She said she knew nothing about the theft when the police called her. And Hannah said that she had stayed at the party till 7 a.m. and then had taken a taxi home because nobody could give her a lift. It was dark and she couldn't see anything. Who was lying? Hannah. At 7 a.m. in the summer, it's already light outside. One day, a famous soccer coach went missing right from the changing rooms. The police had 3 suspects, and all of them were from his team. Brandon said that after the training, he'd stayed on the pitch to practice a bit more. He hadn't been to the changing room yet. Andrew swore that after the training, he had gone outside to meet with his girlfriend. And James said, "When I was leaving the changing room, the coach was still there." Who's behind the disappearance of the coach? It's Brandon. He said he hadn't been to the changing room yet. But look, he's wearing not his uniform, but his street clothes. Once, a mad professor kidnapped Zoe and held her in his house. Was he planning to experiment on her? There was no way the young woman could escape. But one day, the scientist got bored.
"You'll have to make breakfast for me tomorrow. If I like it, I'll let you go. If not, no one will hear about you again."
In the morning, Zoe went to the kitchen and started cooking. But when she turned away from the stove, the scientist threw a whole box of salt into the pot. However, when Zoe served him breakfast, he realized he had to set the girl free. Can you figure out what Zoe cooked? The girl boiled eggs. A man on a motorbike crashed into the window of Mr. Ruby's store, grabbed several expensive watches, and drove away. When the police arrived, Mr. Ruby told them that he was almost sure it had been his nephew, Patrick. The officers went to visit the guy. Because of a heavy downpour, it took them 1 hour to get there. Patrick was at home, together with his friend. "Look at the weather. I haven't been outside since yesterday." Patrick's friend confirmed his words, but the police didn't believe their story and arrested Patrick. Why? The guy's helmet is hanging on his motorbike. If it had been there since the previous day, it would have been filled with rainwater by now. 4 friends went to a cafe together. 2 of them, Linda and Mike, ordered a large pot of blueberry tea. Kirsten took some lemonade, and Oscar opted for orange juice. Half an hour later, Linda and Mike lost consciousness and were rushed to a hospital. When the police analyzed the tea they had drunk, they found poison in it. The main suspects were, of course, Kirsten and Oscar. Why didn't they drink the tea? Kirsten said that she didn't like tea with berries, and Oscar explained that he was allergic to blackberries. Who is the culprit? It's Oscar. He said he was allergic to blackberries, but the tea his friends drank was with blueberries. David worked at a construction site. Once, someone attacked him, and the unconscious man was taken to a hospital. Police officers who arrived to investigate the case had 3 suspects who also worked at the construction site: Alex, Ryan, and John. Alex said, "I was putting all tiles on the roof when the accident happened." Ryan confessed that he'd been sleeping under the tree, and John claimed that he'd been laying bricks at that time. Can you figure out who's lying? Alex was the one to hurt David. The building has no roof yet, so he couldn't be putting tiles up there. You've bought a cute little rabbit at a pet store. The animal can breed every 2 months, and every time it will deliver 5 babies. How many rabbits will you have in a year? You'll have just 1 rabbit. If you want to have little bunnies, you have to buy 2 rabbits. Look at these people attentively. Who is a mer person? Pay attention to every little detail. It's the guy on the right. Look, his hands are webbed. Allison won the main prize of $1 million on a game show. But when the shooting was over, it turned out that the host of the show had disappeared, together with the prize. The police managed to log into the computer in his office. They saw that the host had sent this message to his girlfriend. It looked like the host had told his girlfriend where he was going. The police went to the airport, but which flight was the host going to catch? Can you figure it out? Now let's see, the first 2 letters of Atlas are AT. If we take 3 letters from the word land, it'll leave us with LAN. And the 2 first letters of tattoo are TA. Together, these letters make up the word Atlanta. Hurry to the gate, officers! Jack got lost in the woods. Suddenly, he saw a castle. The man rushed there and was greeted by the owner of the castle.
You have to answer just 1 question. If you win, I'll show you the way out of the forest. But if you lose, you'll never leave my castle.
Jack agreed. The owner asked,
There are 4 mirrors on the wall. One of them reflects fire-spitting dragon Niren. The second, beautiful mermaid Laura. In the 3rd mirror, you can see a terrifying vampire Sam. And in the 4th, unicorn David. You have to figure out which reflection isn't real, and fast!
The reflection of vampire Sam isn't real. Vampires can't be reflected in mirrors. A businessman arrived at his office after a long trip and discovered that some important documents had disappeared from his desk. He immediately called the police, and a detective arrived shortly after. After interviewing all the workers, he had a list with 3 suspects on it. They were Emma, the accountant, Sophia, the receptionist, and James, a sales manager. But each of these people claimed that they hadn't even been inside the businessman's office. Still, it didn't take long until the detective figured out who was lying. Can you do the same? The thief is James. Both women wear high heels in the office, but the footprints on the floor are obviously left by sneakers. You throw me when you need me and pick me up when you don't need me. Can you figure out what I am? Right you are. I'm an anchor. How can you increase 66 by 1.5 if you aren't allowed to make any mathematical operations? Hurry up and crack this riddle. Just turn 66 upside down. It was Mr. and Mrs. Smith's wedding anniversary, and Mrs. Smith was going to put on diamond earrings her husband had presented her for their wedding. But when she opened her jewelry box, she saw that the earrings weren't there. She called her daughters, Dora and Laura. "I've told you so many times not to touch my things. Who took my jewelry this time?" Dora exclaimed, "I haven't touched your jewelry box." Laura also denied taking her mom's stuff. "I don't even wear earrings." Can you figure out which girl is lying? It was Laura who stole the earrings. Her mom didn't specify which piece of jewelry was missing. All kinds of monsters now live among people, and we need to keep an eye on them. Some of them blend in pretty well, so you need to keep your eyes wide open to recognize them.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the first pair. Can you tell which of them is a ghost? Well, look. This dude has left footprints, so that's definitely not him, but the other guy. Next up, a vampire. Can you figure out which person at the party it is? It's this dude. He doesn't cast a shadow, unlike everyone else. Here are two girls. Can you figure out which of them is a werewolf? The lady on the left has hairy legs, but it's not a crime. Meanwhile, the right lady has left some scratches on the wall because she's the werewolf. Jennifer and Emma want to get into an exclusive nightclub. Unfortunately, not everyone is welcome. At the entrance, security is asking for a password. Can you help them figure out what the password is? Pay attention to the guy's shirt. Those symbols should mean something. A B, an A, a rock, and a star. B, a rock star, must be the password. Esme was walking in a forest, and guess what? She got lost. After a bit of walking around, she found the house of her old friend, the witch. She pet the cat and asked the witch to take her home. As always, the witch had a riddle for Esme.
The answer is in your head before you even think of it. It may lead you to the wrong answers, but it is itself ultimately correct.
So what is it? Of course, that's a brain! A clothes store manager noticed that some things had started to disappear. At first, he thought it was a mistake, but the problem persisted for months, and he invested in security cameras. After half a year, he reviewed the footage. Can you take a look at it and figure out what's been happening to the clothes? Look at this pregnant lady with a big belly. In half a year, she would have already given birth. But she keeps showing up like this, which probably means that the belly is fake, and she uses it to steal clothes. Taylor was craving her favorite cookies that were only sold in one particular store outside the town. She was going to work, but her boyfriend had a day off, and she asked him to go get the cookies for her. When she came home, the cookies weren't there. Taylor's boyfriend said that the cookies had been sold out by the time he'd made it there. Taylor knew that he hadn't left the house. How did she figure it out? The store is outside town, so her boyfriend would have to go by car. But the car is covered in snow, just like it was when she was leaving, which means that he didn't use it. On Wednesday, a high school student, Margot, went missing. She left after the first lesson, feeling sick, and didn't make it home. There are 3 suspects: Mrs. Adams, the director, Mr. Jones, the janitor, and Mrs. Smith, a school cook. Mrs. Adams said, "Margot's mother called me, and I gave the girl permission to leave." Mr. Jones said,
I'm not exactly sure what Margot looks like.
Mrs. Smith reported, "I saw the girl at lunch. She looked quite ill and only got a yogurt." Who should be taken for further interrogation? Mrs. Smith, the cook.
Oh, no.
Margot left after the first lesson, so she couldn't be there at lunch. In a parallel universe, it was only allowed to have fun and eat candy. No one ever read or studied. Mrs. Relham came back home after a long and fun day at a club. Her 3 daughters were supposed to have fun too. When the woman returned, she noticed that someone had done some gardening instead. Hannah said, "I was watching movies all day." Elle said, "I went camping with friends." Ava said, "I was in my room playing Uno." Mrs. Relham could tell that one of her daughters was lying. Who was it? It was Ava. She would need someone to play Uno with. She couldn't do it by herself. Now let's take a small break and test your attention. Look, here's a ball and 3 cups. I'll put the ball here in the cup on the very left. Your task is to watch the ball and then tell me where the ball is. Let's go. So, where's the ball? Look, it's here. Did you get it right? Let's do it again. Now I have 4 cups and I'll be moving faster. I put the ball right here. Watch it. So where do you think it is? It's in this cup. And let's make it almost impossible and see if you can get it now. 5 cups, so watch closely. What's your bet? It's right here. Great job! At sunset, Sadie was walking along the beach and found a bottle with a message inside. Can you help her figure out the cipher? This cipher was first used by Julius Caesar, so it's called a Caesar box. To decipher the message, you need to divide the code into 5 groups of 5 and rearrange them vertically, like this. And now you just need to read it vertically, column by column. Allison, a mom of 3, came back home after a long day at work and went to the kitchen to make dinner. Well, someone had already had one, a chocolate paste sandwich. See those breadcrumbs and some chocolate on the knife? Her daughters knew that no sweet snacks were allowed before dinner, so Allison went upstairs and found her 3 daughters doing homework. Can you tell which of them ate the chocolate paste sandwich? It's this girl with chocolate stains on her shirt. While Mr. Coleman, a rich gentleman, was on vacation, his mansion got robbed. The security was notified and a detective started the investigation. All the people who had been to the house were interrogated. Jack, Mr. Coleman's best friend and business partner, reported that he had visited the house a couple of times to pick up the mail and get a couple of important documents from his office. John, the gardener, said that he had come every week to take care of the garden. Ben, the cleaner, said that he had come every Wednesday to clean the house. The detective took fingerprints of each of the suspects, as well as some fingerprints from Mr. Coleman's office. Take a good look at them and try to figure out who should be arrested. As you see, all three kinds of fingerprints were found in the office. But while Jack and Ben had a reason to be there, the gardener did not. So, he must be the thief. Violet, Rose, Scarlet, and Hazel are best friends hanging out at a party. The four of them wear dresses of respective colors, but none of them wears the color reflected in her name. They study economics, English, chemistry, and medicine. Can you figure out which dress each of them is wearing? Here's some available information. Scarlet is younger than both the girl in pink and the one studying English. The girl in pink, the girl in red, and Hazel speak Spanish. The economics student, who is not Rose, is engaged to the brother of the girl in purple. The English student and the girl in purple love coffee. The girl studying economics, the girl studying medicine, and the girl in pink live on the same street. Okay, here's the solution. Hazel doesn't wear Hazel because that's the color of her name. We also know that she can't be the girl in pink or red, so she's wearing purple. Now, from statements 1 and 5, we know that the girl in pink doesn't study English, economics, or medicine. So, she studies chemistry. Now, the girl in purple doesn't study economics or English. So then, she studies medicine. Rose isn't an economics student and also can't study chemistry because she isn't wearing pink. And Violet can't study medicine because it's the subject the girl in purple studies. Scarlet doesn't wear pink and doesn't study English, so Scarlet wears Hazel. Then Rose wears red and Violet wears pink. Lucy is a powerful witch. She gets a task to find a wicked enchantress, Rowan, who's hiding inside a beauty salon in the human world. Lucy walks in and sees 3 hairdressers. Can you help her spot Rowan? The first lady is holding a broom, but she just sweeps hair off the floor. It's just part of her job. Although the third lady has green hair and witchy style. It doesn't prove that she's a magical creature. But take a look at the second hairdresser. She's mixing something in her bowl. Regular hair dye doesn't spark, so she's Rowan. Lucy catches Rowan and sends her back to prison. The hairdressers want to thank Lucy, so they invite her to the local cafeteria for lunch. Can you guess which customer is broke? Take a look at the signs. This one says, any item, $1. The third lady got soup and free water. Meanwhile, others had to pay for several items. Therefore, she's probably the one who's broke. Lucy meets a handsome guy in the cafeteria, Rob. They get along, and he invites her on a date. Rob wants to impress Lucy and takes her to a photography exhibition. Rob is a photographer. He took these pictures a few months ago. Suddenly, one art critic says, "Some of these photos are not real. What a scandal." Can you spot any fake photos? This one. The shadow under the bridge doesn't belong there. Rob wants to recover his reputation. That's why he goes on a dangerous trip across the desert to take some epic pictures. But he gets lost in the evening. Oh no! A massive sandstorm is coming. Rob has to find a place to hide. He comes up with 3 ideas. Run away from the sandstorm, hide behind a big rock, or hide in a dried riverbed. What should he do? A human can't run away from a sandstorm. The wind speed is too high. The riverbed is too low. The sandstorm can easily reach him there. Therefore, Rob should pick the rock. It'll cover him up completely. After the trip, Rob gets hired as a photographer at the Alumni reunion party. 4 friends, Vlad, Luna, Gabriel, and Lenora, ask him to take their picture. Only one of them is not a vampire. Can you guess who? Take a look at the decoration. It says that they graduated 20 years ago. Vlad is the only one who's getting older, so he's not a vampire. The party goes on. 3 girlfriends are taking pictures together. Suddenly, they spot their former classmate, Crystal. She wasn't popular at school, but now she's a famous blogger. They ask Crystal for a few selfies with her. Can you spot who's Crystal? Only this lady is in all the pictures, so she's Crystal. Rob takes a couple of group shots. Then, he takes a closer look and sees that one of the guests is a runaway criminal from the TV news. Can you spot this person too? There he is. Meanwhile, Lucy returns to the magic world. She has 4 barrels of excellent punch. Lucy was saving them for her birthday party, which will start in 24 hours. She enters the storage room and sees that someone had stolen her beauty potion, the one which dyes hair pink permanently. Lucy finds a note nearby. I put the pink hair potion in one of your punch barrels. Guess which one? Good luck! Lucy has to find the enchanted barrel before the party starts. She knows that the potion would work in 10 hours. Luckily, she has one friend who wants pink hair, Marta. Lucy decides to test the punch on her. How can she check 4 barrels in 21 hours? Lucy should give Marta the punch from the first barrel right away. Then the second barrel's punch an hour later, and the third 2 hours later. If Marta's hair becomes pink in 10 hours, the first barrel is enchanted. If she changes her hair color in 11 hours, it's the second barrel to blame. And if she gets pink-haired in 12 hours, it's the third barrel. But if Marta stays blonde, the fourth barrel is enchanted. Lucy and Rob become an official couple. They want to rent a new apartment to live together. They can't choose between these 2 options. Can you guess which place belongs to a vampire? This one. It has no windows at all. Lucy's father, Magnus, is a very rich and powerful wizard. Lucy and Rob attend dinner at his house. Lucy doesn't know yet, but the cook was bribed to poison Magnus. The cook brings a separate dish for each family member because everyone has their own tastes and needs. You can save Magnus if you figure out which one is his dish. We know the following information. Lucy is allergic to fish and has diabetes. Magnus doesn't think about healthy eating. Esmeralda takes care of her shape and also she has lactose intolerance. As for Rob, he's a vegetarian. Which dish is for Magnus? This one. Lucy and Rob get an invitation to a barbecue party from their neighbor, William. They arrive at the appointed time and see William lying in the backyard, unconscious. A police car and an ambulance are already there. William left an uncooked piece of meat in the cold barbecue. There's a tray with seasonings, a knife, and a fork on the table. Rob questions 2 other guests. Bella says, "The police said that Will was attacked about an hour ago. I was in the kitchen. I heard a strange noise and ran outside." Frank says, "My house is very far from here. I just got back from the store. I heard a scream and rushed over. Wait a minute, what's there? Seems like Lucy dropped her earring. Rob understands who attacked William right away. What about you? Frank said that he just came over, but he knew that the barbecue was cold. That's why he wasn't scared to put his hands inside. Rob realized that Frank was trying to frame Lucy. Lucy and Rob are getting married. Everything goes well, and the ceremony is about to begin. But suddenly, Lucy disappears. Later, Rob finds her in the broom closet. Someone had hit her on the head and escaped. Who did it? It's the waitress. There's a necklace from Lucy's jewelry set in her pocket. The wedding ceremony goes on. After that, Magnus gives Lucy and Rob a new house as a gift. It took 80 men 1,000 hours to build it. How long would it take 40 men to build it? No time at all, because it's already built. Rob is driving near a big shopping mall. He sends Lucy a message asking if he should buy anything. She replies with this odd riddle. My life is generally measured in hours. I serve by being devoured. Thin, I am quick. Fat, I am slow. The wind is my foe. Can you guess what he should buy? A candle. Rob grabs a candle and goes to the checkout. Oh no, I forgot my wallet in the car. One customer from the line offers Rob a deal.
I'm gonna pay for your candle if you crack my puzzle.
Rob agrees. Here's the riddle.
I go through a door, but never come in or go out. What am I?
The correct answer is a keyhole. Lucy is exploring the local haunted house. Can you count the exact number of ghosts in this area? The correct number is 8. Lucy hears loud screams from the basement. She goes there to check. Looks like it's filled with sleeping gas. Lucy faints and wakes up locked in her room. There are 4 doors with some weird runes. Suddenly, Lucy hears a creepy voice from somewhere above. The only way to get out of here alive is through door C. Good luck. Can you help Lucy find door C? Here it is. Each sign means a double letter. Lucy finds the right door and escapes. In the garden, she meets a group of witches dancing around the fire. One of them is a fake witch. Can you guess who? This lady. She's using a vertical vacuum cleaner instead of a broom. 3 expensive watches have been stolen from Mr. Brown's store this year. The police can't help the poor man. He decides to hire a private detective. When Laura arrives, she immediately asks for the CCTV footage from January to December. After watching it, she tells the store owner who the thief is. What has she noticed in the video? The same guy came to the store several times in April, August, and November. And every time he has a cast on his arm. But no broken bone would need 8 months to heal. Follow the Sun was a very popular travel agency. It sold package tours to the hottest and most exotic destinations. But one day, the police found out that this company helped criminals flee the country. They also learned the exact date when it would happen the next time. On that day, several police officers arrived at the airport. They stopped a group of tourists who were flying to a Caribbean island, but the detectives didn't know the criminal's identity. That's why they had to search the baggage of all the passengers. Look at their bags and say who the criminal is. It's the young woman on the left. If she's going on a package tour to a hot place, why does she need a winter jacket? No matter how fast you are, you'll never be faster than me. I follow you wherever you go. What am I? I'm your shadow. Carl and his wife Olivia had dinner. They ate the same dishes: French fries, some fish, and vegetable salad. Half an hour later, Carl felt unwell and called an ambulance. But when specialists arrived, he was already unconscious. The man was immediately taken to a hospital. Luckily, doctors had enough time to save him. When they figured out what was wrong with Carl, everyone was shocked. The man had been poisoned. But how could it happen? He and his wife ate the same dishes, but Olivia was perfectly fine. Even more surprising, the next day, the police arrested the woman for trying to poison her husband. How come? Olivia made all the dishes not salty enough and put poison in the salt shaker. Marta takes 6 ice cubes from the freezer and puts them on a plate. She removes 2 of them and adds another ice cube. She waits for 20 minutes and puts them all back in the freezer. How many ice cubes are left? Just 1, but it won't be exactly a cube. All the ice cubes will have melted and, placed in the freezer again, will form one large chunk of ice. Joe texted his friend Randy. He needed some advice. Joe wrote, "My girlfriend took my professional camera without asking permission, and then she accidentally smashed it. What should I do?" The answer was bizarre. At first, Joe didn't think he wanted to follow this advice, but a bit later he decided it was the best course of action. What was the advice? Forgive and forget. Someone broke into Samantha's house through the window and stole some valuable things. When the police came, she told them she suspected her younger brother Sam. The police officers went to question the guy, but he denied everything. "I was playing basketball several days ago and broke my leg. As you can see, it's in a cast now. It's hard for me to even leave my house." The police officers left, but the next day, one of them saw Sam near his house. The guy was still wearing the cast, but the officer immediately arrested him. Why? When the police visited Sam, the guy had a cast on his right leg. Now it was on his left leg. A farmer only has goats, sheep, and horses on his farm. At the moment, they're all horses but 5, all goats but 4, and all sheep but 3. How many of each animal does the farmer have? There are 3 sheep, 2 goats, and 1 horse on the farm. Altogether, there are 6 animals. Police officer Cheryl Adams was walking along the river, taking some pictures she needed for a case, when a man crashed into her. They both fell to the ground. After helping Cheryl to her feet, the man started to apologize. Someone had stolen his wallet and he was trying to catch the thief.
I was painting my boat and my wallet was lying next to me. But then I got distracted. And when I turned back, the wallet wasn't there anymore.
Cheryl understood that the thief couldn't have gone far. They ran to the nearby pier. There were 4 people there. After looking at them attentively, the police officer knew who the thief was.
Yes!
Now, it's your turn to figure it out. It's the man who's talking on the phone. There's some green paint on his left pant leg. Damien was at work when he found out he'd won the lottery jackpot. He told his accountant he wanted to give half of this money to his best friend, Logan. But random people started to show up in the office, calling themselves Logan to deceive the accountant and get the money. Can you figure out who the real best friend is? It's the guy wearing a matching bracelet with Damien. Look at these prisoners. Can you figure out who's planning to escape? It's the most innocent-looking guy, reading a book. In the corner of his cell, we can see a pile of dirt. He has already dug a hole, planning to use it to escape. Sandra's boyfriend went on a business trip to New York. Soon, the girl got a weird text message from him. It looked like this. What did Sandra's boyfriend want to say? The message means, "Unhappy without you." A woman went out of the airport terminal. She hailed a taxi and gave directions to the driver. As soon as they drove off, the woman started to talk. Her chatter annoyed the driver. He turned to her and said, "I can't hear what you're saying. I'm almost deaf." The woman didn't open her mouth for the rest of the ride. Only after she got out of the taxi did she realize the man had lied to her. How did the woman understand it? If the driver had hearing problems, he wouldn't have been able to follow her directions. Dylan was an extremely popular guy in his office. Tall, handsome, funny, and friendly. But there was one thing that made certain people dislike him. The man had a new girlfriend every month. That Friday, Dylan came to work very happy. He had finally bought the car of his dreams. At lunchtime, he went to the parking lot to check on his new toy. Oh no, his car was a mess, scratched and covered in paint. Dylan called security. He had 3 suspects, all of them his exes. Andrea said she didn't even know that Dylan had gotten a new car. Catherine answered she'd been preparing a report for their boss and hadn't left her desk. And Mila told the guy that she'd forgiven him long ago. Who ruined Dylan's car? It was Catherine. She has some paint stains on her skirt, and the color is the same as the paint on the man's car. Emily was standing on one side of the river, and Anna was on the other. Anna shouted, asking Emily to come and meet her, and Emily did that. There was no bridge across the river, but the girl crossed it anyway, without even getting wet. How did she do it? The river was frozen. One guy was going to Disneyland. At one point, he arrived at a crossroads. There was a sign there. Blueville, right. Disneyland, left. The guy stood there for a while and then, terribly upset, he went home. Why? He thought Disneyland had really left. An orange house is made out of orange bricks. A yellow house is made out of yellow stones. A blue house is made out of blue logs. What is a green house made of? It's made out of glass, of course. Izzy wants to open a cozy hotel in the countryside. She asks her agent to find a property that meets her goals perfectly. The agent offers 4 options, but only one of them is trustworthy. Can you help Izzy make the right decision? The first house looks pretty rich and fancy, but the ceiling and the walls are covered with mold. According to the description, the third building will only be finished by 2055. And the fourth hotel is located next to a toxic factory, so Izzy should pick the second property. Izzy heads to Rose Valley to see a property for herself, but unfortunately, it starts raining heavily, and Izzy crashes into a tree. She's fine, but her car is broken. Izzy walks through the woods and finds an abandoned mansion nearby. She enters it to hide from the rain. Suddenly, the gate shuts down behind her. Izzy wanders around the house for a while and finds 3 doors leading outside. But each way has hidden dangers. There's a waterfall of toxic acid behind the first door. There's a pool with hungry piranhas behind the second door. And the third route is filled with fire. Which door should Izzy choose? The third one. We mentioned that the doors lead outside the castle. It's been raining heavily in the woods, so the fire was gone long ago. The next morning, Izzy finally arrives at Rose Valley, and she spots 5 odd things about this place right away. Can you see them too? The house numbering is mirrored. There's a small crocodile crawling around the trash bin. The aircraft in the sky is moving backwards. The stop sign is hanging upside down. And finally, this woman waters her flowers with bleach. Izzy decides to taste the local bakery. One Dutch pretzel costs $4.05, and for the price of one 8-shaped bagel is $3. Also, they give away buns for free. Can you calculate the price of one donut? One donut will cost $1.50. This bakery takes $1.50 per hole. And this classic donut only has 1 hole. The cook brings in a fresh tray with strawberry tartlets. Can you spot which tartlet is different from the others? Each tartlet has 7 strawberries, except for this one. Izzy likes the local hotel and decides to buy the property. It belongs to Sheila, a rich and egocentric young lady. Sheila offers Izzy a deal. I'll give you a 50% discount if you can guess which one of these guys is my boyfriend. Can you help Izzy spot the right guy? It's the man on the left. They have tickets to the same event. Izzy and Sheila go to the local bank to close the deal. 3 managers greet them at the entrance, but one of these workers is an impostor. Can you guess who? Take a closer look at the bank logo. The second guy's badge matches the logo perfectly. The third lady doesn't wear any badges, but maybe she's left it on the desk. But the first gentleman has a fake logo on his badge. Therefore, he's the imposter. The next day, Izzy greets her first visitor. It's Bill. He asks her to hire him and tells Izzy his story.
I was kidnapped and locked in a room. I found a note from the criminal. It said, put $5,000 under the door. I'll come to pick them up in the evening and then give you the key. But I didn't have $1. Only an expired credit card. However, I managed to get out.
How? Bill used his card to push the tongue of the lock back and opened the door. In his college years, Bill was very shy. He desperately wished to find a soulmate. Bill used to visit different places to meet as many ladies as possible. And then one day, he entered a coffee shop and saw a stranger. He fell in love with her right away. Bill got the nerve up and asked her out on a date. She said, "I'll go if you guess my name," and handed him this clue. Today, this lady is Bill's wife. What's her name? Eve. 31st of December is New Year's Eve. Izzy likes Bill and she's ready to hire him. I only have one last riddle for you. There are 15 birds sitting on a fence and you throw something at one of them. How many are left? None. The rest would have flown away. The next morning, Izzy enters the hotel lobby and sees a welcoming fruit basket. The sender is unknown. Only 3 people are in the hotel today: Mike, Bill, and Jeff. Izzy questions them. Mike says,
I arrived here first and spent all the time fixing the roof.
Bill says,
I mowed the lawn and the garden, so I didn't see who brought the basket.
and Jeff says, I was checking the pipes in the hotel room. Everything's fine, by the way. Who's lying? Bill. He said he had mowed the lawn, but the grass is still very tall. Repair works are over, and Izzy throws an opening party in her new hotel. There, she meets Peter, who falls in love with her right away. Izzy decides to challenge his intelligence and offers him a riddle. What word is spelled wrong in every dictionary? Peter doesn't know the answer. What about you? The word wrong is spelled wrong in every dictionary. The next day, 3 tourists arrive at the hotel and check in. Can you guess which guy is her boyfriend? This one. They have the same t-shirts. Izzy meets 3 hotel guests in the dining hall: Lily, Frank, and Kitty. One of them has recently lost all their money. Can you guess who? Lily's sandals don't look neat, but it doesn't prove anything. Although Frank looks messy too, he has many expensive gadgets. Kitty is the most elegant, but she sneaks food from the buffet and hides it in her beach bag, probably because she can't afford to buy it. Izzy goes to the hotel basement and gets lost. She faints and wakes up locked in a room without either food or water. There are 3 doors with some signs on them: the letter M, an arrow, and a heart. Suddenly, Izzy hears a voice from somewhere above.
You'll get out of here alive only through the 4th door. Good luck.
But there are only 3 doors. Izzy looks around from the floor to the ceiling. Where is the 4th door? Here it is. Each sign means a double figure. The hotel needs urgent repair work. Izzy sends her locksmith, Mike, to the construction supermarket to get the necessary tools. A couple of hours later, Izzy begins to panic. Mike never came back. She sends him a message, asking where he is. Mike replies,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to visit my sick grandfather on the way. He lives alone outside the village. There are no shops or any other infrastructure near his house, so I brought him some food and medicines.
Izzy is very touched. She agrees to postpone the repairs. Mike thanks her and sends her this picture. Izzy looks at the photo and realizes that Mike is a liar. How did she know? Take a closer look at the car. The word casino is reflected in the windscreen. But Mike said that his grandfather lived in a remote area. Izzy goes to check the work of her new cleaning lady. Can you spot 3 differences between these 2 hotel rooms? Here they are. And what about these 2 interiors? Can you spot 3 differences? Over here. Harry uploads a dating app, hoping to find a girlfriend. He likes these 3 ladies, but 2 of them are not single. Can you guess who? The second lady has 2 shampoos on a bathroom shelf, one for her curly hair and one shampoo for male hair and beards. So she's probably living with her husband, and the third lady is wearing a necklace in the shape of half a heart. The second half probably belongs to her boyfriend. So only the first lady is single. Early in the morning, Harry goes to the local park for a workout. He sees these 3 runners on the way. Can you decide who's faster? The second one. What about these cyclists? Who's the fastest? The third one. After the workout, Harry enters his favorite cafe and sees a lot of people. All the tables are occupied, but one person already finished eating. Can you guess who? This guy. There's money on his table. Harry looks around the cafe and sees a crying woman. Can you guess why she's so upset? She's crying because her friend is pulling her hair. Harry is flying business class to another city. There are 4 women in the cabin. One of them is smuggling gold. Can you guess who? The fourth one. Her belly is unnaturally square. So he goes to the park and gets attacked by a crowd of zombies. Harry is terrified. He begins to run away. There are 3 possible routes in front of him, but only one of these routes will actually take him to a shelter. Can you help Harry find the correct way? Route A doesn't look simple, but it's the only way out. Harry is visiting an engagement party. His brother Kevin proposes to his girlfriend Bella with a fancy diamond ring. And she says yes. The party goes well, but suddenly, the lights turn off for 20 seconds. When the power is back again, Bella sees that someone has sneaked an engagement ring from her finger. Harry questions 3 suspects. Peter says,
I was cutting a cake in the kitchen when the lights turned off.
Allie says, I was playing the piano in the living room when suddenly it became super dark, but I'm a pro, so I continued to play blindly. And Kitty says, sorry, I've been arguing on the phone with my ex-boyfriend, so I didn't look around. Who's lying? Allie. She said she was playing the piano, but there are no musical instruments in the living room. At the party, Harry meets a pretty lady named Monica. He falls in love with her at first sight, but unfortunately, she's already married. Can you guess which one of these guys is her spouse? It's the first guy. He's the only one who doesn't hold any drink, and Monica is holding 2 glasses, one for herself and one for her husband. The party goes on, and Harry meets Vlad. He's a real vampire. One of these ladies is his wife. Can you guess who? The first lady's not a vampire. She bit this cookie and smeared her red lipstick. And the second one is wearing a garlic necklace, probably to chase away evil powers. Meanwhile, the third lady has sharp ears and red eyes, so she's probably a vampire just like Vlad. But the task was to spot Vlad's wife. Nobody said that she's necessarily a vampire. Take a look at the first lady's ring finger. She has a ruby ring that's similar to Vlad's. Therefore, she's his spouse. Harry runs a hardware store chain. He arrives at one of the shops to investigate a theft. The manager says,
This morning I found out that some Xboxes are missing. They could be stolen yesterday. Only 2 guys worked last night. One of them must be the thief. Personally, I think it was Bob.
Harry asks, why do you think so?
I talked to both of them. Bob said that he saw nothing suspicious, and Zach said that he'd seen Bob put some boxes in the back seat of his car.
Harry asks the manager to take him to Bob. They approach Bob at the parking lot. Harry says, now I'm pretty sure that Zach is guilty. Why did Harry think so? Zach said Bob put some boxes in the back seat of his car. However, Bob has a 2-seat car. Harry calls the police and they arrest Zach. The manager decides to change the 7-number password on the storage door to avoid further thefts. He leaves this little clue for all his colleagues. Can you crack this code? The number of fingers implies 5. The number of angles in the triangle implies 3. The number of petals in the flower is 6. The circle implies 0. The rainbow has 7 colors. It symbolizes the number 7. And finally, the square has 4 angles, so the passcode is 536074. Harry figures out the code and changes it again to test Bob's intelligence. Harry gives him the following clue. It's a 7-digit code. The first digit is the number of zeros in the code. The second digit is the number of 1s in it. The third digit is the number of 2s. The fourth digit is the number of 3s. The fifth digit is the number of 4s. The sixth digit reveals the number of 5s. And finally, the 7th digit shows the number of 6s. Can you figure out the code? The correct answer is 3211000. Harry goes on a road trip. He stops in the middle of a desert to take pictures. Can you spot 3 odd things? Harry's shadow falls to the right, and the shadows from the cacti fall to the left. He's in the desert, but this cactus is growing in a pot, and this lizard is wearing tiny shoes. Harry rents a room in a motel for a couple of days. Unfortunately, he has a very annoying neighbor, Karen. They're arguing all the time. One day, Karen calls the local security and accuses Harry of stealing her towel. It's been raining all day long, so I didn't go to the beach and stayed in my room. Harry grabbed my beach towel from this rope. I could see from my window. He folded it and put it into his backpack. The guard immediately realizes that Karen is lying. How? The rope is outdoors. It doesn't make any sense to dry towels in the rain. Harry purchases a tour to see the local waterfalls. He takes a nap on the bus. Then he wakes up and sees that his favorite baseball cap is missing. Harry interrogates 3 tourists nearby. Sally says, "Sorry, I was sleeping too. I don't know who did it." Oliver says, "Look at me, I don't wear baseball caps, man. I prefer classy hats." And Molly says, "I think it was Sally. She's very suspicious. I'm almost sure that she tried to steal my chocolates when I fell asleep." Can you spot the thief? It was Oliver. He hid Harry's cap under his classy hat. Harry enters the local bakery. Rosie, the barista, is very upset. "I have so many coffee orders, but someone stole all the beans from the storage room." Harry interrogates 3 suspects. Louis, the cook, says,
I spent the whole day in the kitchen baking croissants, and I'm just working on a new batch. I don't have time to talk to you.
Ron, the waiter, says, "I forgot to set my alarm, so I overslept and arrived just now. I don't know who sneaked the beans." And finally, Dan, the manager, says,
I've been talking to one dissatisfied customer all morning. She was so annoying. I didn't have the chance to look around.
Who's lying? The cook. There are no croissants either in the kitchen or in the bakery window.
I know a great way to energize your brain. A new portion of tricky riddles. Are you up for some detective activity? Then let's start. Brandon missed lots of lectures, and as a result, the guy had problems with his professor. The man agreed to give the student a second chance, but only if he fulfilled the task the professor had for him. I'll give you 1 glass of milk and 1 glass of water. You'll need to pour the 2 liquids into a bowl, but you should be able to separate the milk from the water later. And you can't use any kind of dividers. Brandon spent several hours mulling over the problem and cracked this riddle. What did he do? He poured all the water into the bowl and froze it. After that, he added the milk. You lose your friends in a crowd. You spend half an hour looking for them. And finally, here they are. What is the first thing you do as soon as you see them? You stop searching. Can you figure out what this rebus puzzle means? Give, 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 give. It stands for forgive. There are 2 towns near each other. People who always tell the truth live in one of them. Liars live in the other. The inhabitants of the town often visit each other. What question should you ask a passerby to find out which town you're in? Ask them, are you a guest here? If they answer yes, you're in the town of liars. If they say no, you're in the town where honest people live. Look at these ladies. One of them has stolen a watermelon. Can you figure out which one it is? It's the girl on the right. Her navel isn't visible, even though she's wearing a rather tight dress. Her belly must be fake. Oh no, Mary is crying. But why? Do you know the reason? First of all, Mary is the girl on the left. Do you see that school bag with her name on it? And she's crying because the guy sitting next to her is pulling her hair. Next, can you figure out which car is a transformer? Right you are. It's this one. This granny claims the nurse steals her pills, but the nurse says it's a ridiculous accusation. Who's lying? Duh! Look at the nurse's head. It's not a hat, it's a container with the pills. Now, you need to figure out which blogger is a vampire. Be very attentive to details. Even though the girl wearing all black looks sinister, the vampire is the girl on the right. Look, the lamp is turned on. But unlike the girl on the left, the vampire has no shadow. Olivia's husband was a hunter. Once he went on a hunting trip for 3 days, but when he came back home, he brought nothing. The next day, Olivia went to a cafe with several friends. They shared their latest news. Donna said, "I just bought a new apartment." Sarah boasted, "My boyfriend gave me this bracelet for my birthday." Nina said, "And I went skiing to the Alps. It was a fantastic trip, except for those awful mosquitoes." Olivia left the cafe in tears. She was now sure her husband was cheating on her with one of her friends. Can you figure out which one? It's Nina. For one thing, getting bitten by mosquitoes in the Alps while skiing? Really? Plus, the bites on her face and body match those Olivia's husband has. They must have been together. Someone stole a rare diamond from Mr. Lauren's house. The police suspected Jack, a notorious burglar. A detective immediately went to his house. But when Jack found out the man didn't have a search warrant, he didn't let him in. In an hour, the police arrived again, this time with a warrant. They searched the entire house but found nothing. They were ready to leave when one of the police officers exclaimed, "I know where the diamond is! Have you figured it out too?" When the police came to Jack for the first time, his hair was much shorter. He must be wearing a wig. And the diamond is most likely hidden underneath. Liam was a pilot. Once there was an emergency during a flight. Liam had to land the plane right on the highway. Luckily, he was a skilled pilot and no one got hurt. But Liam hit his head and lost his memory. When he got out of the plane, two women ran toward him. Both of them claimed he was her husband. Can you figure out who's telling the truth? The woman on the left is a robot. Look, there's a USB port in her neck. A large ocean liner got shipwrecked, and only 5 people survived. They reached an uninhabited island. They were worn out, hungry, and thirsty. They didn't even have the strength to go look for food. So all they managed to get was 3 bananas. How can they divide them equally among 5 people? They should cut each banana into 5 pieces, then each of them will get 3 pieces. Problem solved. Patrick called the police at night. He claimed he had been robbed. When the police arrived, he told them his story. "I was sleeping in my bedroom when some noise coming from the living room woke me up. I rushed there and saw a short man in a mask. When he noticed me, he opened the back door and ran away. He must have got in through the window. He took all my money." The police officers didn't believe Patrick. Why? If the criminal had got inside through the window, he would have ripped off these decorations, but as we see, they're still intact. Mary was a college teacher. It was the beginning of a new school year, and 3 new students joined the class. When Mary saw them, she immediately realized something was off about one of them. Who? It's the guy in the middle. He doesn't have a shadow. Several police officers were called to a hotel where one of the employees was found unconscious on the floor. The police checked security cameras to figure out what had happened. They didn't see the criminal, but now they had 3 suspects, all of them hotel guests. Sarah said, "I heard some noise but stayed in my room because I was scared." James told the police he'd been outside. He was trying to catch a taxi to go sightseeing. And Damien said he'd been sleeping at home at the time of the accident. Who is lying? Damien. He's a hotel guest. Then how could he be at home, sleeping? Bruce owned a large store that sold expensive designer items. Recently, there were several thefts there. The man asked his friend Gabriel, who was a police detective, to check what was going on. Gabriel spent 2 hours in the store. When he left it, he knew who the thief was and who was guilty of these crimes. Look, the thief is the detective himself. He has stolen a pair of costly sunglasses to prove that the store security is very bad. That's the reason for so many thefts. A mad scientist caught Kevin and locked him in a small room. There were no windows and the door was locked. But there was a note on the table. It was from the scientist. JFMAM. JASOND. Guess the missing letter, and I'll let you free. Several minutes later, Kevin was already running away from the strange place. He managed to figure out that the missing letter was J. Those were the first letters of the months of the year, from January to December. And the 6th letter, J, stood for June. Patrick shaves every day, but every morning, He finds his beard to be just as long as it was the day before. How come? Patrick is a barber. He shaves other people.
Sue's friend works at a celebrity PR agency. He informs Sue about a big party that has all the A-listers that will attend and invites her there. There will be a secret entrance code at the door, and it's the answer to this riddle. What always runs but never walks, often murmurs, never talks, has a bed but never sleeps, has a mouth but never eats. The answer is a river. James, Charles, and Harry participated in the 76th Adventure Marathon. Harry ended the race in 3rd place, James in 2nd place, and Charles in 1st place. However, right before they were given their medals, Charles got disqualified. Can you tell why? Do you see the marathon map on the board next to where the medals are? It shows that the runners have to go through some place called the Muddy Plains during their course. And you can tell from the looks on their sneakers that James and Harry have been through a muddy place, whereas Charles's sneakers look clean as new. During the Boston Marathon, Sally overtook Nicole, who was in 2nd place. Then, in what place did Sally finish the race? She finished the race in 2nd place because the riddle states that she overtook Nicole in 2nd place, which means she took over Nicole's position and became the new 2nd place runner. Janine was a biology teacher. At the beginning of the semester, she gave each student one seed and said that only the person who grew the most beautiful flower would get an A in her class. By the end of the semester, all students came back with beautiful flowers except Billy, who came with an empty pot, but he was the only one who got an A. Why is that? It's because the seeds Janine gave all the students were fake, so Billy was the only honest person among them. Charlie's father was a wildlife photographer, and he always wanted his son to experience how it felt to be around wild animals. So, he decided to give him money that would cover all the expenses of an African safari tour. The only thing he wanted in return was for Charlie to take some photos throughout his adventure and send them to him. Charlie did that, but his father got furious and decided not to give him even a single penny anymore. Can you tell why? Take a closer look at these photos. In one of them, Charlie is wearing skis and holding ski poles in an exotic jungle. So he didn't use the money to go on an African safari tour. Instead, he went on a ski vacation and his photos are photoshopped. Ronald was going to a wedding party with his wife. Once they arrived, as Ronald was getting out of his car, he slipped and fell, hit his head, then blacked out. When he woke up a couple of hours later, he couldn't remember anything. There were 2 women in front of him who were both claiming to be his wife. Can you help Ronald figure out which of them is telling the truth? Remember they were going to a wedding party? That's why they were both dressed accordingly. The lady wearing sweatpants doesn't look like she was heading to a wedding. That's why Ronald's real wife must be the other one, the lady wearing a fancy dress. Leah and Andrew were getting married. After they made their vows, it was finally time to celebrate. But a jealous witch suddenly interrupted them and created two doppelgangers of Andrew to confuse Leah. Yet, the witch's trick didn't work at all, because Leah could immediately tell who the real Andrew was. How did she figure it out so fast? The first and the third Andrew's rings don't match the ring Leah is wearing, so the second Andrew is the real Andrew. A knight was riding his horse through the enchanted forest when a heavy storm began. He couldn't continue his journey like this, so he decided to find an inn to spend the night and wait for the storm to pass. However, he was out of gold coins and was not going to be able to pay. The innkeeper told him if he could answer this riddle correctly, he would let him stay there for free. What is it that walks all day on its head? It's a nail in a horseshoe. Sadie was driving to New Orleans at night when her car suddenly broke. She went out to find someone who could help, but there was only one house around. It was a spooky and weird one, but Sadie had no other choice. Once she rang the bell, 3 vampires opened the door for her. Before Sadie could even say a word, each vampire asked for her help instead, claiming that they were actually human, and the other 2 real vampires were holding them prisoner. Can you help Sadie figure out who's telling the truth? Sadie is wearing glasses, so she can point it to the vampires and see which of them has a reflection on the glass surface. Cassandra was a famous beauty influencer. To celebrate her 1 million followers, she did a huge giveaway. For 3 days, she was going to share 3 different riddles with her followers, and the one who could answer all of them correctly would win a makeup box that was $1,000 worth of products. Here is the riddle for day 1. What's black when you get it, red when you use it, and gray when you're all through with it? It's charcoal. For day 2, Cassandra shared 2 almost identical looking photos with her followers, but there were actually 3 differences between them. Can you spot what they are? The lipstick she's holding in the first photo is coral, but it's fuchsia in the second photo. The hairpin in the first photo is butterfly-shaped, but in the second one, it's bird-shaped. And lastly, this nail has glitter nail polish in the first photo, but in the second, it's the same color as the others. For day 3, Cassandra asked her followers to find out her 3 favorite movies and gave these emojis as her hint. Can you tell which movies they refer to? The first one is Silence of the Lambs. The second one is Finding Nemo. And the third one is Edward Scissorhands. Alex is hanging out in his favorite space cafe when suddenly space monsters attack his planet, and all the doors and windows of the place get sealed shut as part of the emergency protocol. However, there's actually one way to escape the place safely before the space monsters break the barriers. Can you tell how? Do you see the thing that looks like a fire alarm pull station on the wall? Well, it's not really what you think. The writing on it says, "Pull down for the escape portal," so Alex can use that. But when Alex actually uses the portal pull station, 3 different portals open in front of him. The first one leads to a gladiator arena filled with all kinds of wild animals. The second one leads to the inside of an active volcano. And the third one leads to an island inhabited by creepy sirens whose singing make everyone fall into an eternal sleep. Which one should Alex pick? Do you see the headphones Alex has inside his backpack? Well, he can use them to cancel the singing of the sirens, so he should choose the third portal. Alyssa left her gym bag in the dressing room and went to get a towel from the receptionist. But when she returned, her bag was gone. She called security and they interrogated 3 people. Jennifer said that she was taking a shower at the back. Jessica said that she had left to get something to eat from the vending machine. And Jenna said that she was talking on the phone with her boyfriend, not paying attention to anything. Who stole the bag? It's Jessica. She said that she was getting something to eat from the vending machine, but there's no food in it, only drinks. A high-speed express train is leaving in 15 minutes. Security guards are scanning everyone's bags and find one of these 3 bags very suspicious. Can you guess which one? It's the second luggage. This lady has a heavy book among her things, and the title, Dictionary, has the wrong spelling. Maybe it's just a cover to hide something suspicious? The train departs. Unfortunately, this area is full of rocks, so the road is winding a lot. Only one of these routes will lead the train to the final destination. Can you guess which one? Only the third route is correct. Susan is a first-class passenger. She orders a cup of tea. The waiter brings her what she asked for. Suddenly, Susan sees a fly in her cup and gets terrified. The waiter takes her cup and goes to the kitchen. Then, he returns with a fresh cup of tea. But Susan yells, "You brought me the same cup of tea! Gross!" How did she know? Susan already had added sugar. The tea was sweet when the waiter brought it back. Susan gets bored and takes a walk around the train. She enters a rail car with 3 passengers only, Xavier, Gerald, and Peter. One of them can't wait to meet his 2 daughters when the train arrives at the final destination. He promised to take them to the beach. Can you tell which guy it is? It's Gerald. He has 3 bucket hats on top of his suitcase. These 2 cute bucket hats still have price tags, so he probably bought them for his daughters as a gift. The train has arrived. Gerald rents a car to go to the mansion in the forest where his family lives. Unfortunately, the road is surrounded by multiple possessed wild animals. Suddenly, a black cat jumps on the windshield and Gerald crashes into a tree. He has to leave the car and walk to the mansion on his feet. Soon, Gerald finds himself at a crossroad. Can you guess which route is more or less safe? A, B, or C? All 3 routes have animal footprints. The bushes on the first route are moving even though it's not windy. This means that some animals are hiding behind them. And there's a pair of eyes shining in the dark on the third route. So Gerald will have to move quickly through the second route. It begins to rain heavily. Gerald finds a fancy mansion along the way. The owner invites him inside the house to hide from the rain and grab some snacks. Gerald agrees and finds himself at a glamorous party. There are 3 models eating in the buffet. One of them is broke. Can you guess who? The second lady. Take a look at her bag. She hides some food for later. Gerald walks around the mansion and sees two roommates. One of them is a thief. Can you guess who? It's not the first maid. There's an open safe with diamonds and cash in front of her, but she doesn't do anything. Meanwhile, the second lady has already hidden a diamond in her bucket, so she's the thief. Gerald eats a snack and falls asleep. He wakes up in an old basement. The mansion owner locked him up. Gerald finds a sheet of paper on the floor. It says, "I'll give you a chance to get out of here. The key to the door is inside this closed bag. Try to get it." Gerald tries to rip up the bag, but the fabric is too tough. He tries to tear it using his teeth, but he almost breaks a tooth. How can Gerald get the key? He should break a jar and use a fragment of glass to cut the bag and get the key. Gerald opens the door and enters a storage room. There are 3 doors leading to freedom. A forest full of hungry predatory animals is hiding behind the first door. The second route is filled with toxic gas that's impossible to stand for even a second. And there's a fire behind the third door. Which way is more or less safe? Gerald should choose the third door. There are bottles of water in the room, and the fire is rather small. Gerald can easily put it out. Finally, Gerald is outdoors. But there are 3 hidden dangers in this garden. Can you find them? There's a crocodile in these rose bushes. A laser beam alarm system is on. And a scorpion is hiding in a tree. Gerald runs away through the forest, but something's wrong with this place. Can you spot 3 odd details? Take a look at this spruce. Lemons don't grow on this type of tree. This beehive is inhabited by butterflies. Also, there are 2 moons in the sky. Gerald checks into the local motel to get some rest. He leaves his golden watch on the bed and goes to buy some coffee. In an hour, he returns to the room and sees that someone had stolen the watch. Gerald interrogates 3 suspects. The maid says, "I only entered your room once today to clean it before check-in. I have a master key, but it's always with me in my pocket." The woodworker says, "I entered your room an hour ago to fix a creaky bed. Everything's fine now." And Gerald's neighbor says,
I was feeling sick, that's why I went to bed earlier, so I didn't hear anything weird.
Who stole Gerald's watch? Nobody. The golden watch fell under the bed. See? The next morning, Gerald goes to the motel's lobby to check out. He finds the manager, Lauren, lying unconscious on the floor. Gerald calls the police. They figure out that someone has put Lauren to sleep using an unknown substance and took all the cash. The police officer questioned 3 people who last saw Lauren conscious and healthy: Rose, Violet, and Lily. After checking out the crime scene, the officer arrests one of the witnesses. Can you guess who and why? Lily. Take a look at her hair extensions. They're not distributed evenly. That's because Lauren pulled out one strand and squeezed it in her fist. She wanted to leave a clue leading to the criminal. Gerald has just come back from his long trip. He's trying to open a suitcase, but realizes that he has forgotten the 4-number code. Luckily, Gerald left a note that can help him remember the code. Can you figure out the code? That would be too easy to use the given numbers as they are. To crack this mystery, we should mind the numbers of letters in each given number. So, the correct code is 5364. Finally, Gerald can keep his promise and takes his daughters to the beach. He also takes some food for a picnic. Can you guess the name of this food by emojis? Sandwich. Gerald and his wife Anna have a lot in common. Daughters, careers, and a big house. They do everything together. One day, Anna comes home really late. She's tired, but happy. Gerald gets jealous and yells at her. Anna flames out too. "I was working all evening." Gerald says, "Sorry, Anna, I don't believe you. It looks like you're dating someone else." Anna refuses to talk and goes to bed alone. Meanwhile, Gerald waits for Anna to fall asleep and checks her purse. He finds nail polish, a wallet, a pack of gum, lipstick, and some keys. Now Gerald is completely sure Anna was seeing someone else. How did he know? The keys are definitely not from their house. The next morning, Gerald receives an email from his boss. Can you guess the meaning of this message? It means, "Great job, you got it." This type of code is called a Caesar box. Because Julius Caesar was known as the first one to write codes this way. To decipher the message, simply divide the code into 4 groups of 4. Then rearrange them vertically. Hey, ready for some Valentine's Day riddles? Look at these 3 guys. Which of them is going on a date tonight?
Hello.
It must be this one. He has a little wrapped present, probably for his date. Now let's peek inside a restaurant. Which of the 3 girls is on a date? It's this one. Look, there are roses and 2 sets of dishes on the table. So she's not alone, and it's something romantic. My money is on her. This is Allison, and one of these 3 young men is her boyfriend. Can you tell who? It's this one. Look, they have matching tattoos. Take a look at these 2 proposals. Which one of them is fake? This one. Look, the guy has a ring. He's clearly already married. It was Friday evening, and Mark was waiting for his girlfriend to get back from work. He prepared dinner and was about to propose. His girlfriend came back home with flowers. Do you think she was on a date with someone? No, she wasn't. Look outside. The same flowers grow in their garden. She just picked some before entering the house. On Valentine's Day, Annika found a love note on her desk. Unfortunately, the note wasn't signed, but she had 3 suspects. So she asked each of them if they had written her a note. Dylan said, "I was busy finishing my math homework before class." Connor said, "I was hanging out with my buddies outside." And Luke said, "I was in the bathroom and I just returned." Who wrote Annika the letter? It was Luke. Look, his hands are covered in red ink. That's the color used in the letter. Also, if he had really been to the bathroom, his hands would be clean. On Valentine's Day, Jess found a note in her locker. But the note was weird. It was just a sequence of random letters. Or was it some code? Can you help Jess read the note and figure out who sent it to her? Of course it's a code. Look, there are 5 groups of letters with 5 letters in each group. Let's put them into a 5x5 table. And now, we need to read this vertically, column by column. Will you go out with me, Colton? So where's that Colton? Michelle was hosting a Valentine's Day party. She invited all her school friends, and everyone was allowed to bring a +1. Either their significant other or a single friend. In the middle of the party, she noticed that her cousin was in the garden talking to some girl, but it was dark and she couldn't tell which girl it was. She just saw that the girl had long hair. When her cousin returned, she knew immediately who he was interested in. Here are 3 girls with long hair. Who was outside with Michelle's cousin? Look, Michelle's cousin has a lipstick stain. The girl must have left it, and this girl right here is wearing lipstick of the same shade. On a cold, rainy night, Damon was driving past a bus stop. There were 3 people there waiting for their bus. An elderly lady who looked sick, a doctor who had saved many lives, and Addison, a girl Damon had a crush on for years. Unfortunately, there was only room for one more person in his car. What should Damon do? He should give his car to the doctor, who would then take the lady to the hospital. And Damon can stay at the bus stop waiting for the bus with the girl of his dreams. Looking like a hero in her eyes.
Yeah.
Let's take a little break now. Have you seen any romantic movies? Well, I hope so, because I'll be showing you some emojis, and your task will be to guess what romantic movie they stand for. Okay, here's the first, very easy one. Of course, that's Titanic. Here's the next one. Nothing much, but it should be clear. Do you know this movie? It's The Notebook. What about this one? A relatively recent remake was a great success. Can you recognize it? It's A Star Is Born. Here's the next one. Do you think you can guess it right? It's Before Sunrise. The next set of emojis illustrates another very well-known love story. Can you guess it right? It's La La Land, of course. Here's the last one. It's an oldie but a goodie. What do you think? Everyone's favorite, The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind with Kate Winslet and Jim Carrey. It was Valentine's Day, and Nicole wanted to put a little present in the locker of the student she had a crush on. Unfortunately, she didn't know the code. Luckily for her, the owner of the locker was forgetful too, so there was a note with a hint. Can you figure out the combination? Each number is the number of lines in the respective letter. There is just 1 line in I, 4 lines in M, 3 in H, and 2 in T. So, following the same logic, there are 4 lines in E, 2 in L, 2 in V, and 3 in Z. So the combination is 4, 2, 2, 3. Okay, here's another code for you to crack. This time, you need to help Eric. He wants to get his wife a nice Valentine's Day gift, but he is absolutely clueless about what she wants. So, the plan is to break into her computer, check her shopping cart, and get something from there. The problem is that the computer requires a passcode, and the man doesn't know it. Luckily, there's a note on the desk, so he types in 6198. But the passcode is wrong. Can you figure out what the correct passcode is? The note is just turned upside down. Eric should try typing in 8619 instead. Kennedy works in the emergency room. It's Valentine's Day and there's a patient who felt unwell during a college party. Kennedy leaves the room because she needs to talk to the patient's girlfriend. She was at the party with him. Which young woman should she approach? Who is the guy's date? Keep in mind that the couple was at a party, so they must be dressed nicely. The patient's date is most likely this woman in a pretty dress. Now, let's do some exercises to train your eyes. Here's a bunch of hearts. Can you find one broken heart? Yes, here it is. Good job. The task is similar, but not quite. Now there are many hearts and a few broken hearts. How many broken hearts are there? There are 5 broken hearts here. Have you found them all? Kelsey came to an antique store to get some presents for her boyfriend for Valentine's Day. She needed a baseball cap for him, an antique pocket watch, and a toy car from the 1920s. Can you help her find all these items for her boyfriend? Here's the cap, here's the watch, and here's the car. Have you spotted them all? Mark, the boyfriend, is getting presents for Kelsey in the same antique store. He needs to find a pretty cup, an antique mirror, and a beautiful photo album. He needs some help too, so keep your eyes wide open. Do you see all these items? Here they all are. 1, 2, and 3. Great job! It's a Valentine's Day party and Melody, the most popular girl in school, is hosting it. 4 best friends are standing together and one of them is Melody's boyfriend.
Oh, yeah.
You ask them who the boyfriend is and here's what they say. The first guy says, the fourth one is the boyfriend. The second guy says, it's me. The third one claims, no, it's the first guy. And the fourth one says, no, it's actually me. If only the boyfriend tells the truth and the other guys lie, who is Melody's boyfriend? Only the boyfriend tells the truth, so he will say, I'm the boyfriend. So it's either the second guy or the fourth one. But if the boyfriend is the fourth guy, then the first one is telling the truth too. So, Melody's boyfriend is the second guy. Wendy is an art teacher. This morning, someone pranked her by putting glue on her coffee mug. She questioned 3 suspects. Blair says,
I didn't do it. I was too busy painting these beautiful flowers.
Jason says, I overslept and came to the studio later than you. And Zara says,
Why would I do that? You're my favorite teacher.
who did it? It was Zara. There's a glue pen in her pocket. Wendy gives her students a task and leaves the studio. After a while, she returns and sees this painting. She says, wow, who painted this masterpiece? 3 students claim to be the author of the painting. Can you guess who tells the truth? To solve this mystery, we should take a look at their palettes. Only this student has all colors that match the painting. Wendy goes outdoors to buy some food for lunch. Suddenly, she sees a cyclist lying on the ground. Can you guess what happened here? In fact, the car hit the ketchup bottle. The cyclist just fell nearby and got stained. Wendy receives a delivery. 3 identical boxes with artist supplies. All boxes are labeled incorrectly. Wendy needs to label all boxes correctly by opening just one of them. Can you help her? Since all 3 boxes contain the wrong items, Wendy should open the 3rd box. If it contains watercolor, the first box will definitely have brushes, and the second box, watercolors and brushes. And if she finds brushes in the 3rd box, the first one will contain both watercolors and brushes, while the second one, watercolors only. The delivery guy walks outside and yells, "Hey, call the police! Someone stole my car!" The police begin an investigation and find these 3 suspects. One of them is a thief. Can you guess who? The first guy is just coloring his fence, and the third one is a gardener. But the second guy is hiding a lockpick in his shirt pocket, so he's the thief. Wendy comes to a party. 3 guys invite her to dance, but one of them is a werewolf. Can you guess who? The first guy is just wearing a werewolf costume. The second one has some scratches, but it proves nothing. But the third one has a real wolf tail. After the party, Wendy wakes up in a cell made of ice. She only has a pickaxe in her hand. Meanwhile, her best friend Zach is locked in a similar cell with a drill. Can you predict who will escape? Only Wendy will escape. Zach can't use a drill without electricity. The next day, Wendy arrives at the art studio. She leaves her takeaway coffee at the desk and goes to the toilet. Wendy returns and finds out that someone had drunk her beverage. She checks the cup's surface for fingerprints, but she only finds her own traces. Wendy questions 3 suspects among students. Blair says, "Sorry, I've been washing my brushes in the sink. I didn't look at your desk." Jason says, "Sorry, I don't like coffee, and besides, I've been streaming stories for my followers." And Robin says, "I was changing in the dressing room to be a model for portrait class." Can you spot the thief? It was Jason. Take a look at his back pocket. He's hiding rubber gloves. That's why he didn't leave any fingerprints. Wendy receives an emergency call. Someone had stolen paintings from her art studio gallery. Wendy interrogates 3 suspects among the visitors. Sarah says, "I came here to buy some of your paintings, but when I entered the gallery, the walls were empty." Jill says, "I went blind 7 years ago, so I didn't see anything. I only visit this gallery to use your toilet." And Robert says, "Why would I rob this place? I'm the major investor." Who's lying? Jill. If she's really blind, why did she bring this photo camera with her? Wendy carries out entrance exams for art students. One of these 3 artists is left-handed. Can you guess who? It's the third guy. It's easier for lefties to hold a palette in their right hand and paint with their left. This way, his left hand works and the right one stays static. During exams, one guy named Bobby gets very sick and faints. Wendy calls the ambulance and takes him to the hospital. She's just met Bobby, so she doesn't know his relatives, but still. Wendy manages to notice his wife in the hospital right away. Can you spot her too? It's the first lady. They have identical tattoos, and the third lady has a similar mole on her cheek, so she's probably Bobby's sister. Doctors suspect poisoning, so they keep Bobby in the hospital to make tests. Meanwhile, Wendy returns to the studio and questions 3 witnesses among the applicants. Sheila says, "Bobby didn't look healthy in the first place. I don't blame him. Everyone was stressed out during exams." Sam says, "I have no idea who poisoned him, but this person is heartless." And Xavier says, "I think Bobby's just pretending to be ill to get accepted out of pity." The next day, Bobby calls Wendy with the test results. He was poisoned. Wendy calls the police right away and they arrest one of the witnesses. Can you guess who and why? Sam. He knew about the poison before the test results were ready. The next morning, Wendy enters the studio and sees that someone has left a hot mess. Canvases are torn and paints are spilled all over the floor. Can you count all the brushes in this room? "13. What about the glass jars? Can you count the exact number? There are 8 glass jars in this studio, including this broken one. Wendy asks her 3 students, "Who's responsible for this mess?" Nina replies, "I think it was David. He never washes his hands and clothes. He's such a weirdo." David says, "It was Nina. She's just jealous because her paintings weren't selected for an art exhibition." And Amber says, "I don't know who did it. Yesterday, I was feeling sick and stayed home. Who's responsible for this mess?" Take a look at the canvas frames. They're all signed. The only canvas that wasn't torn has David's name on it. Therefore, he ruined the studio and his rival's works. Wendy asks her students to the park for an en plein air class. Can you see any weird details in this area? This is an apple tree, but why are there so many oranges under it? 2 students have painted almost identical pictures. Can you help Wendy find 3 differences? Here they are! What about these portraits? Can you spot 3 differences? Over here. After the class, Wendy is trying to leave the park and gets lost. She has to walk through this confusing maze. Can you help her find the way out? Only the first path is correct. On the way home, Wendy enters a supermarket. Can you count the number of cacti? Six. Someone had broken the most expensive car in the parking lot near Wendy's apartment building. The police interrogate 3 witnesses to find out who's guilty. Carl says, "This is my car. I parked it as usual and went home. Wendy woke me up with her call." Gia says, "I was just having a yoga class in a studio nearby. This car belongs to my ex-boyfriend Carl. Too bad he loved this car more than me." And Peter says, "Carl's my neighbor, but he's not my best friend, if you know what I mean. I've been working all day and just arrived." Who broke Carl's car? It was Gia. She's hiding a baseball bat inside her yoga mat.